Everybody, welcome to our virtual office hours for this week. I'm hoping that the sound is going to be okay because last time we had a problem with sound. I don't know why, but please let me know if it is a bit funky. Not that I know what to do with it, but at least I can acknowledge it. Anyways, you guys, super excited to be here today. Have a few really fun questions to go over. And if you happen to be on for the first one we did this month, you'll know that we had a lot of great interaction and got to get really personal with my responses. And so the more that you interact, the more that I can respond to you with really specific solutions for wherever you're at. So right now we're going to dig into question number one, which is how do I do a sales call? So I love authentic sales processes. I love teaching what I call the perfect sales-free sales call. And it is really about connecting with the person that is your PPC, your perfect potential client, and taking them through a process of discovery to see if it's a good fit, to see if you're able to help them, to see if they get that wow factor from you, and then move them into the question of would you like to work together? Now, my whole belief, my whole raison d'etre, friends, is that, when you are doing this perfect sales-free sales call, neither of you feels like you're on a sales call. That's when you know you've really, really nailed it. When you are both having a good time, getting to know each other, taking this journey together, and the end result is, would you like to work together? Yes or no? So I had a really interesting experience with somebody this week where I had reached out to potentially work with them as a client. And it was positioned as a mini session, which unfortunately it was not. It was literally a sales pitch the entire time. And it really just reinforced for me why that doesn't work. So after talking about what I do and what I'm looking for maybe 3 minutes, the rest of the time was this other person talking at me. And unfortunately, there was no experience of what it would be like to work with them because it was just sort of this bravado that this person was putting on, and this sort of untouchable untouchable feeling. Even when I would ask direct questions about their process or their system or how they might be able to help me, really it was met with, well, that's what you'll find out when we work together. There was no value brought to the call. There was no sense of what it would be like to work with this person and whether or not they could actually help me achieve what I wanted to achieve. And that is a mistake, friends. It's such a mistake when we have that mentality that you have to pay me to get value. I'm not going to give you anything until you've paid me. Because what happens is you don't give that person a sense of what it feels like to work with you. And that's what happened here. I really didn't get this sense of here's what it's like to work with this person. Here's how they can help me. And so it was a no for me. And even worse, as we got to the end of the call, and I knew it was going to be a no for me, just because, for me, because sales is such an important part of who I am and what I do, what I love to teach, if I'm talking to someone with a really bad sales process who does a really bad sales call, my confidence in them really kind of drops out. And so I already knew it was going to be a no for me. I wasn't keen on this sort of false bravado and this wall that was up there and this inability to connect and get real answers and impact. So when I said, you know what, I think that it's not the right time. I don't think we're right fit. This person didn't even listen. They just kept going on and on about, I'm going to send you the link. And if you say I'm in, book now, and you've got 24 hours or else your spot's going to be gone. And I only work with so many people. And listen, that is another approach that I disagree with in sales. This sense of, creating a sense of lack or competition between you and the next guy to get this last spot. Another thing that they had done is they had said, you got to beg, borrow, and steal to get the money together. You can put it on a credit card if you have to. And again, that is not something I agree with. I don't agree with predatory sales techniques, sales pitches. One of the things that's so important, first of all, I talk about money Money sometimes isn't a factor. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. You guys, sometimes straight up, it is. Like you got no money. You're trying to figure out life. You're barely hanging on, and there really is there's no money. I get that, but I also get that there's ways of getting money and finding money if it's really aligned for you. But I don't believe in applying that kind of pressure to the person that you are pitching your offerings to, because it really does create unnecessary pressure on that person, and it creates this sense of shame. You know, if you wanted it, you'd find the money. If you believed in yourself, you would spend this money. And I don't agree with that. I really do believe in providing high value, having a real conversation with somebody and letting that person make the decision that's right for them. So this person wasn't listening to me. They were still pitching. Even the next day, I got an email still pitching, and they just were not listening, that I was not interested. So let's talk about how to not do that. This is a great lesson on what not to do. So now we're going to talk about what to do. So when you are on a sales call with somebody, and some of you might call that a discovery call, a strategy call, a mini session, you know, you have your own name for it, but essentially it is a sales call from behind the scenes perspective. All right. And if this person has generally gotten to this point of getting on a phone call with you, they are genuinely curious to know what it's like to work with you and what you're all about. I mean, let's be honest. We live in a world that, man, we are so savvy. We don't have to be tricked into a sales call. We're so savvy. We know if it's something for free, there's probably going to be some sort of pitch at the end. That's just the way that it is in the world today. So let's talk about how to do a sales-free sales call. So first of all, when you are doing this discovery call with someone, understand that really this is your chance to shine. This is your chance to really bring your magic to the table and give that person a real sense of what it's like to work with you and be in relation with you. All right, this isn't the time to hold back. This is the time to really bring your all. I have a template that I'm going to share with you right now. It's 4 steps. And so I want you to write this down if you can. Also, if you've done my 7 mind-blowing reasons your business isn't growing and what the heck you can do about it free training, you'll also see that this sales process is broken down on there for you as well, where you can hit pause and write it all down. Okay. Oh, actually, no, I think there's even a worksheet. I think there's even a worksheet attached. So there you go. You have it actually written out for you. So the 4 steps to the perfect sales-free sales call. Step number 1 is 5 minutes of rapport building. I'm going to back this up. I'm assuming that this is a 30-minute time slot. You can adjust it for whatever is appropriate for how much time you give somebody. So I generally use 30 minutes because I find that sort of that sweet spot of really getting to get to work, get to know someone, have an impact. 4 steps yesterday. Have that impact, and then it's not rushed, but it's not too long. I'm not over giving, right? So step number 1, 5 minutes of rapport building. Folks, this is where you just talk about small talk, all right? Whatever you're binging on Netflix, whatever the weather outside is doing, whoever just won the latest sporting event, this is where you talk about nothing. And a lot of folks might be really confused by this because they might feel like they're wasting time or small talk is so empty and pointless. But no, this is where, first of all, you take the pressure off of yourself and get out of your own head about having to deliver, having to sell, having to pitch, the whole thing. It also really puts the other person at ease because that person is going, oh, this is a really chill person. We're having a really chilled out phone call. Okay, this is great. And it allows you to find common ground on whatever is current and popular right now. All right. And it allows you to share a laugh. It allows you to get to know each other a little bit. And most importantly, for them to get to know you. You know, there are many times where like literally whatever's going on in the world, that's what I will talk about in that moment in those first 5 minutes. And it really does sort of dial up that know, like, and trust factor. All right. You know this. You all know this. The reason people do business with you is because they know you, they like you, and they trust you. So how we build that is that first 5 minutes of rapport building, small talk, whatever is popular, whatever's going on, absolutely no business talk. The other thing is, have you ever gone onto a call and immediately said, hello, how are you? Boom, and dived right into what you guys are talking about? And it feels kind of like forced. Like you all of a sudden, I always get this moment where I have a realization that I'm talking to this person and then they're a relative stranger and I have no idea about who this person is and what drives them because I've just gotten right into the what's the problem? Let's figure out your problem. So again, that's how we avoid that weird feeling that, you know, I don't really know this person and this feels really forced and really stilted and I'm kind of lost. Again, it just brings you both into the same place. All right. Hope I've convinced you on 5 minutes rapport building. The next step is 15 minutes of asking questions and listening. So we are still not solving any problems or doing any pitches or anything like that at this point. It is 15 minutes. The bulk of this call is asking questions and understanding where they're at, understanding what they need, understanding their pain points, understanding their vision and their dreams and where they want to get to, really getting a feel for who they are, what their problem is, and whether or not you can help them. This is hopefully you talking very little. This is probably you asking really great questions that's going to pull out for you the information that you need to be able to decide if you want to work with them, right? Do I like this person? Am I excited about what they're working on? Do I want to help them solve this problem? Understand their problem and understand if you're the right person to help them. Because let's be honest, folks, sometimes we get on a call with someone and we realize this is out of my depth, this is out of my knowledge base, or I'm just not excited. And listen, if you know that from the beginning, don't take them on as a client. Refer them out, recommend them to somebody else, recommend them to a resource. Please do not sell yourself out just to be able to get some money, okay? And don't do your potential client a disservice if you're not the right person for them. Thanks. Yes, Renee, draw it out. Heck yes, that's what we want. All right. So you're going to know if you want to work with them, you're going to know if you can help them, and then you're going to understand how to help them. All right. Most importantly, you're going to understand how to position yourself and your offerings. All right, so now we're going to move into 5 minutes of solutions of high impact, of high value. This is where you bring it, friends. This is where you bring everything you've got to the table and really show them what you can do. Really show them just the magic and joy of working with you and what you bring to the table. Now, you already heard me talk about don't do this whole thing where this is where you have to work with me. You have to pay me. You have to work with me to find out. Don't do that. I've heard that so many times over the years from random people. I'm not even going to pretend that it's not mostly from men. It's mostly from men doing a pitch, whether it's from the front of the room or on a call, that go into this mode. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, so don't go into that lack mentality and that wall mentality. Go into here is exactly how I can help you. If that person has an aha, has an actual solution to their problem, walks away feeling so good and heard and understand, they know what to do, how likely are they, you think, to want to work with you, right? Or at the very least to tell the world about you, right? Now, don't solve all the problems. I mean, come on, let's be realistic. You got 5 minutes and you are attempting to sell yourself and your services. So don't give it all away, for sure. Pick one thing to solve. You can ask them what they'd like to talk about. If you already know, just because maybe that's the style of your business, the nature of what you do, you already know the first problem to dive into, go ahead and take charge and absolutely do that. Solve that problem, leave them feeling good. And then finally, the last 5 minutes is where you're going to talk about sorry, I read Renee's good comment and got distracted. Yeah, it's a little gross, right, Renee? All right, so the last 5 minutes is where you're going to talk about what you do and see if they want to work with you. Now, I understand that here is where a lot of people can get a little bit in their heads about it, and they don't know how to transition from one to the other. Now, let me tell you, if you have done a phenomenal job to this point, most of the time they are going to ask you what you do, what are your services, how can I work with you, how can I get more? They're usually going to ask that by this point. If they're not asking it, you just simply ask them, would you like to talk about working more together? Or would you like to hear about my offerings or my services? Or would you like to hear how I'd work with somebody like you if you were my client, right? Ask the question. Here's the thing I like about asking the question. We get the green light, red light response, the yes or the no. If we get a no, if they say, you know what, this is enough for me right now, or no, I don't really have the time, or I don't have the money, whatever that is, if you get the no, that's great. Wrap up the call, send them to your community or your list or your social. Keep in touch, keep dripping, but let them be. It doesn't leave you feeling like you're now awkwardly selling someone who doesn't want to be sold or who's just being, polite and being nice and doesn't know how to get out of this call. All right. But if they say a yes, now you've got that green light to go in there, talk about what you do, talk about your offerings, make sure that whatever you tell them about what you do, that it is aligned with what they need. So if you have 5 different packages and this person needs package A or package B, don't present the whole farm, guys. Don't do all of it. Just say, these are the 2 ways I recommend we work together. Which one sounds right for you? Which one is more appealing? Again, the whole thing with attraction sales is listening, creating connection, providing value, and then asking those questions to see, yes, I want to work with you. Yes, this makes sense, right? What do you see as your next step? What do you have to do to make a decision? Always asking questions, and you're putting it back in their lap to take charge and do it. Remember that sales is not about convincing. If you have to convince someone today, you have to convince them the next day and the next day and the next day. It's also not about predatory sales techniques or creating fear or panic or competition. It's not about that. If you have to resort to that to sell, you guys, I'm gonna get crass. You're shit. Listen, if you have to resort to predatory behavior and coercion and manipulation and fear to sell, your stuff is shit. People should want your stuff, you guys. I'm so sorry, but it's true. People should want your stuff. They want to work with you. They're attracted. They're drawn. They can't imagine their life without you. That's what we want to create. Okay, friends, that is my response to how do I do a sales call? What is my attraction-based, or what is attraction-based sales? And remember, 5 minutes of rapport building, 15 minutes of asking questions and listening, 5 minutes of solutions, 5 minutes about talking about what you do and asking if they'd like to work with you. So there you go. There's my response to question 1. Absolutely leave comments, questions, or feedback, and then I'm going to dive into question number 2. Question number 2 is, how do I be vulnerable without oversharing? I would love to hear what your thoughts are on that question, because it is one that I get often. It is one that I also wrestle maybe is the wrong word, but one that I think about and contemplate a lot. You know, when I have clients in the academy or that work with me one-on-one, you know, a lot of the times they're reflecting what they're seeing out in the world, which is this trend around sharing your trauma story or sharing really vulnerable and sometimes terrible, like I said, traumatic things that have gone on in your life. And they feel like they have to do the same thing, but it's just not feeling right for them, and they're not feeling safe about it. But then the problem is that they are feeling that they are a fraud if they're not sharing it, because there is this trend out there of sharing these depths of who you are and what you've overcome. So I'm reading your comment. 5 is a number that makes you want to boogie. Right on. I love it. Why? Why does 5 want to make you boogie? I mean, I'll boogie with you. Okay, so back to sharing your trauma or sharing being vulnerable. Number 1, I want y'all to understand that you do not owe anybody your trauma. You do not owe anybody your personal stories, your personal experiences. All right. You don't owe anyone any of that. So I really want you to think about that, okay? It doesn't make you less authentic. It doesn't make you any less real or make you a fraud. Those are your stories. That is your journey. That is not owed to anybody. Now, saying that, if you are somebody who shares that story, that's great. If that feels safe for you and that feels good for you and that is connecting with your audience in a way that is freeing them or opening them up to get them to where you want them to go, you know, based on what you do, that's great. Go for it. As long as you feel safe and you're not doing it out of a sense of duty or obligation. The next thing is that if it's not real for you, understand that you don't have to do it. You know, you can share experiences or, philosophies or theories. You can share all this that's going to invoke the same opening and the same connection from your PPC, your perfect potential client or your audience, without having to get really raw and sharing who you are. Which reminds me, which is another point, which is that when you're in the middle of processing something and going through something, you absolutely don't need to share that. In fact, I recommend that you don't. You know, a lot of times when people are sharing their pain or their past trauma, it's because they have spent the years doing the work and they've moved out the other side of that, and they've gained a sense of neutrality around it. They're no longer charged. It's no longer hitting them the same way. If you are in a place where you are still very much charged by whatever's going on and is still very much affecting you, absolutely, I'm going to recommend that you maybe don't share that you keep that for yourself. And you you teach and lead through different ways. So that is sort of my answer to that, which is that how do I be vulnerable without oversharing? I want to sit with this for just a second, guys. So first of all, you don't owe your trauma. I just said that. If you're processing, don't share it. Keep working on it. Share something else. Now, okay, so you've all heard Brene Brown, or maybe you haven't. Brene Brown, I forget where it is. Is it? Oh my gosh, I forget what book it is. Anyways, but she talks about the vulnerability hangover. If you know the name of the book, please write it down. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. So she talks about the vulnerability hangover. So that is when we share, we overshare, and then we have this moment of feeling sick about it, or feeling in our heads about it, or feeling anxious and what have I done, and oh my God, and everyone's going to find out. And we feel really raw and exposed. So that's a normal thing to feel, right? That's normal. That happens. And what we want to check in with that is that, did I really overshare? Did I really say too much? Do I regret sharing it? Was that inappropriate? Should I not have? Or is it just a hangover and it will pass? And actually, I feel really good about it. I'm just not comfortable with feeling this exposed or this open. So really challenging that for yourself, really looking into that. And if it's just a hangover that's temporary and it's going to pass on, great, keep going. If you really do regret it, first of all, take the content down if you can, and then and then don't. Actually, that reminds me of a story, because I was doing that in a call the other day at one of my calls. This was actually with my Brilliance to Business Mastermind. This is my Entrepreneur crew, and I shared something really, really personal. And it was actually about a strange relationship in my life with somebody else. And as soon as I shared it, I was sharing it to make a point, but I immediately regretted sharing it because it didn't involve just me. It involved somebody else, and I wasn't comfortable with that. And so I went in and I edited. I took that little tiny itty bitty 2-second thing and just pulled it out, because I was like, no, that for me is crossing a line. So again, it's understanding for you where that line is and what it feels like when you cross it, and then take it down and don't go there. Renee Pilgrim, I love that you were talking about this. Great, Renee, please share your thoughts. I bet you have many, many to share. Okay, so there you go. Understand where your line is. Understand that you don't owe anything to anyone. If you're in the middle of it, please don't keep going. If you're in the middle of it, please don't share. Take some time to process that. And then just understand that, understand your intention behind being vulnerable. What is my intention here? Is it to manipulate, or to coerce, or to make people feel bad? Like, what is the intention? Or is it to say, hey, you're not alone. I've been through this. You're going through this. I get it. I've got you. You're going to be fine. So just really understanding your intention around that is my last point. Okay. Whoops, sorry, guys. So my next question, how do I know when a new opportunity is going to drive me forward or is going to be a distraction? Hang on one second. Renee, I want to read your comment. People do want to feel like you have done the work. I'd love some more elaboration on that. Please elaborate. Because I don't know if that's true. I honestly don't know if that's true. I don't know that people want to know. I'm trying to think of myself now. What I want to know that the person's done the work. I guess that is true. I guess it is true that it's important to me that if I'm following someone, that I know that they've been in the trenches and not shied away from it and done the work. But I don't know that I need to hear the work. I think I can tell they've done the work by their actions and by the way that they talk, and that their sense of freedom and confidence and security in who they are and what they do. I think that comes across in action more than in them telling me the story. And one of the things that I've been hearing kind of around as I'm talking to people is this pressure that everyone is feeling to share the work. Because it seems to be on trend right now and what everyone is doing. And I'm saying to you, you don't have to do it too. You can do what feels right for you. And yeah, I do share when I want people to know that I get it. Yes, exactly. Right. It's like, that's the thing with sharing, is that other people, we don't talk enough with friends and loved ones or therapists and counselors about what we're going through. And because of that, we think that we're the only ones. And things in that moment can seem insurmountable and hopeless. And so when we do hear about other people going through something similar and overcoming it, it really does help us to just ease up on some of that loneliness and hopelessness and think, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. I just want to make sure we're not putting undue pressure on people to share when they don't feel comfortable sharing, not consciously. I don't know what you're answering, but that's okay. All right, guys, we're going to move in. Thanks, Renee. We're going to move into the next question. So how do I know when a new opportunity is going to drive me forward or is going to be a distraction? I love this question because have y'all read, I pulled this up, have y'all read Better Than Before by Gretchen Rubin? She also has I believe it's a book called The Four Tendencies. I haven't read it. I've only read this one, but the Four Tendencies are in here as well. And she talks about how we create new habits or make shit happen. And she talks about these 4 different tendencies to how we keep commitments. And one of them is the obliger. And so the obliger is the person that can't keep commitments to themselves, but will keep them to other people. And when I got this question, I immediately thought of this book and thought of the four tendencies and the obliger, because, when we are somebody who is driven into action by pressure or responsibility or commitment to somebody else, that really is what came to mind here for me. There are folks that really truly pressure, and deadlines is what puts them into action, drives them forward. If they have all the time in the world, they'll never do a thing. But if they have 15 minutes and the company's coming over, you watch how clean their house gets in that 15 minutes, whereas they'll sit in chaos for a week. You know what I mean? And so sometimes the same thing happens in our business. We, especially for folks who are not working a full-time job and who have moved into doing their job full-time, their business full-time, there can be this sense of never-ending time. I have all the time in the world, so why rush? But then when there's a deadline they have to hit, all of a sudden they get into action. And so that really kind of pulled that up for me, that question here. Pulled that up. And so I guess my response to that is that if that is you, if you are somebody who is driven by a commitment or a promise or an obligation or a new opportunity, great, ride that out, do it, let that drive you forward. But what you need to ask yourself is this going to be a distraction, right? Is this going to be a distraction from what I'm doing? And that's where you have to get really real with yourself. If this is something that isn't aligned with what you need to do or where you are going. I talk a lot about busy work versus revenue generating activities, right? If this is something that's going to become busy work for you and it's not going to yield any results or get you closer to where you want to go, and it's just action for the sake of action, then you're going to want to reevaluate whether or not you want to jump on this opportunity. But if it is a distraction, but you know that you're an obliger, you know that you need something like this to drive you forward, how can you recreate that situation? How can you give yourself an external deadline and sense of accountability that you will oblige, that you will do for somebody else, but it's going to move you closer to your goals? And sometimes it really is just seeing how excited we get about a new opportunity and this new thing that we get to play with that opens our eyes to going, why aren't I excited about what I'm doing? Why aren't I this excited about what I need to be doing? And that sometimes allows us to uncover a problem we might be having in our business. If we're getting more excited about something external than we are in our own business, something is off, friends. Perhaps what you were doing literally doesn't excite you because you don't want to do it. Or there's some sort of imposter syndrome or fear or something kicking in and it's keeping you stuck, right? It could just be that you don't have the skills or you don't know what to do and you need to just get a little learning, maybe getting some help from somebody who can help you. So if there's an external source that excites you over something and you're realizing it's a distraction, but you're also realizing I'm not that excited about what I'm doing in my business now, ask yourself why and then fix the problem. All right, so that is my answer to that one. Again, I'm going to show the book one more time. I recommend it. It's a great book. Don't mind my copy. It's all dirty. Anyways, so yeah, it's been well traveled. So there you go. All right, question number 4 is on collaboration. So the reason I brought this question in is I went to a workshop on collaboration, and unfortunately I had to leave early because I had a class to teach, but it was interesting how quickly the conversation went off course into something that was not collaboration. We were talking about bartering. We were talking about just offering a service, like getting paid to do a service. And it got confusing and convoluted really, really quick. And so I want to talk about collaboration right now. And specifically, I want to talk about the 4 questions you need to ask yourself before you collaborate with somebody. So first of all, what is a collaboration? So a collaboration is, generally speaking, when 2 people or more that have a similar audience will work together on something. It could be an event or a project or a new offering. They will collaborate on something, work together on something that appeals to both of their audiences. Generally, they are non-competing, so they have the same audience, but they offer something different. And it could be a really fun way to breathe some fresh life into your business and your morale, especially if you are a solopreneur and you are by yourself all the time. It could be a really fun way to recharge your own energy around your business, but also bring something new to your audience, get access to, skills or idea or creativity or whatever that this other person brings to the table. And then of course, getting access to a whole new audience that isn't your audience. Collaborations, I love them. I think they're fantastic, but you definitely need to ask some questions as you go. So here are the 4 questions you need to ask yourself. Write these down. First of all, is it the right audience? Okay, is your audience the same as their audience? And is their audience, no, wait, I got lost on my thought. So is their audience who you want to reach, and is your audience who their collaborator wants to reach? So that's what you need to think about, right? Are they the right audiences? And I see this all the time where people will collaborate with somebody and they don't even have the same audience. That person they've collaborated with, their audience isn't who they are looking for. So like, what's the point? Why are we doing this? So make sure that your audience is the same. Same thing as if that person wants to collaborate with you and your audience isn't who they want. What are we doing here? All right. So number 1, is it the right audience? Number 2, is it aligned with you, what you are currently offering or promoting or selling? Okay. You might have, maybe you've got like three different offerings in your business. And right now you are in a launch phase for one of them. You're really launching this one thing. It has a deadline. It's starting soon. And this is what you're promoting. And somebody asks you if you want to collaborate, but you won't get the chance to promote this. You'll be talking about something else, promoting something else that's not your focus right now. All right. That's really important to know. You want to make sure that you're going to be able to promote the right thing or sell the right thing to this audience. Otherwise, again, what's the point? It's going to become a distraction. It's not going to be aligned with what you're doing. Right? So right audience, and make sure it gives you a chance to promote the right thing. The audience you're talking to wants what you've got. All right, number 3, do you have time? This is another one that people underestimate. You know, when we are collaborating with something, it's not just about, say, let's create a workshop together and then I'm going to help create content. I'm going to show up and just do this workshop. No, it is about promoting the workshop. It is about getting butts in the seats. It's about creating the content, creating the collateral to market it, doing all the marketing. Okay, it's not just about showing up. You have to be given that equal energy in helping to get people in the seats for that workshop. And so people, again, often don't have the time and they will still take on this collaboration. And then all of a sudden they're super stressed out because they've got a million other things in their business. And now they also have this project they've taken on. So make sure you have the right time. The next person also might have the time. They're like, yep, I'm not busy right now. I have all this time. I want to do something fun and innovative in my community. Let's collaborate on this thing. Let's rock this thing. It aligns with their audiences. It aligns with what I want to sell. And I have oodles of time. So make sure you got the time. And then finally, number 4, do they know what they're doing? And this is another place I see people get stuck all the time. They collaborate with somebody who has no idea what they're doing. They want to do a workshop, but they've never done a workshop before. Or they have no idea how to utilize social media to market this thing. Or they're terrible at sales, or they don't know how to promote an event. You know, so again, make sure that the person you're collaborating with knows what they're doing, all right, and understands how to do what needs to be done to make this thing a success. Now, if they don't know what they're doing, but you do, and you want to take on the bulk of the job, the responsibility for that, that's fine. That's your decision, right? It's your prerogative. But just make sure that the person you're collaborating with has some base level, that they know what they're doing, that you're not going to be carrying the weight of both of you, because you're going to get resentful and burnt out real quick, especially if you're splitting the profits and you're doing 80% of the work. Okay, so those are the 4 questions. Is it the right audience? Can I sell? Can I promote what I'm currently selling? Do I have time? And does this person know what they're doing? All right, friends, that is the end of our Q&A for this month. Our next one will be on the second Tuesday of March at 12 p.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. No, I lied, 3 p.m. Eastern. I know time differences. I do want to let you know the next thing we have coming up is our monthly intention setting call. We do that on Zoom at 8:30 in the morning on the first Monday of the month. That's 8:30 Pacific, because I'm not getting up at 5:30 a.m. That is 8:30 Pacific, 11:30 Eastern on this next Monday that's coming up. So I put a link here in the thing so you can go get registered, save your seat. It is awesome. We connect. We talk about the theme of the month. By the way, March theme is I don't know, isn't an answer. So we're going to be talking about that in March. So we talk about that on the intention setting. We do a bit of a guided meditation. We often will pull an oracle card of some sort to kind of give us a focus to talk about. And we set that intention for how we want our month to look and feel. So come join us there. They're my favorite thing that we just started doing this year. I love them so much. Other than that, everybody, make it a wonderful, wonderful last few days of February. And if you have any more questions, please ask them here. And I will about today's topic, and I will answer. And you can join us on the next one with your next questions. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a good one. Bye.